All right, so it says review for the quiz, but we're going to go over the worksheet right now before we review for the quiz. So I read off the answers to you already, so let's take some questions. I knew you had one. What was it? Number 3, okay. And let me draw it. Okay, so that's a right triangle. And it says that this is 45 degrees right there. So that means they don't tell you this bottom one, but what would it be? It's going to be 45, right? Okay. Why is that? Because this is 45, that's 90, plus this 90 is what? 180. So it all works, doesn't it? And they tell you a couple things. Well, they tell you one thing. They ask for a couple things. And this is 3 square root of 2 over 2. All right? All right, here we go. So you got to solve for x and y. What's the easiest one to solve for? And you really don't have to do any arithmetic, any math at all. Solve for y. What is y going to be? It's going to be the same thing. Good. It's 3 square root of 2 over 2. Exactly. So y, because on a 45, remember, these two legs are exactly the same. So if they give you one leg, the other one's exactly the same. Whoops. Let's do this first. Let's go 3 square root of 2 over 2. All right. What about the hypotenuse? Do you remember what the little formula is? I'll write it down. This is probably like the 3rd day in a row, I think. I've written this down for you. It's not 2. It's the square root of 2 times what? One of the legs. Get this thing to write correctly. Okay. Everybody remember that, don't you? Okay, you got to remember that. All right, you're going to take a quiz on it tomorrow, so you got to remember it. I've told you from the first time that I wrote this down. Put it in a box. Let's put it in a box again because it's important. All right, so what do? We got to find the hypotenuse. What's the hypotenuse over here? It's x, yeah, so that makes it kind of easy. It's equal to the square root of 2 times one of the legs. So I'm going to take square root of 2 and multiply it by one of the legs. Now, since the leg is a fraction, I'm going to put that over 1. Is that all right? And then I'm going to put 3 square root of 2 over 2. So the math should not really be all that hard. Let's see what happens here. Let's multiply the top here. You're going to leave now in the middle of this problem. Did you get this problem right? You did? All right, well, let's do it anyway. Here we go. So we're going to multiply the top. Well, I got 2 square root of 2's, don't I? Okay, so I don't have to come over off to the side and write it down. We've done that several times before. You should be able to do this part in your head, at least this first part. Square root of 2 times square root of 2. What is the square root of 2 times the square root of 2? It's 2. Good. And then there's your square root of 2 and square root of 2, and it's being multiplied by a what? By a 3, correct? So this is 2 times 3 on the top. Over what? 1 times 2 is 2. Good. Now you could look at this a couple ways. You could go 2 times 3 is 6 over 2, and then 6 over 2 is 3. Or you could do it like this. You see this? I got a 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. You're right. They cancel out. And what's your answer? It's 3. So this is equal to 3. Make sense? All right. I think the hardest part about doing these problems is just making sure you do your square root stuff correctly. All right? That's what I think anyway. Do you agree or disagree with that? You agree? Yeah. It's probably right. Let me just take a look. Looking at your quiz real quick. Yep. All right. Let's do another one. Let's do one where they give you the hypotenuse as a whole number. All right, so we'll use that same triangle. And we'll get rid of all of this. All right, I'm looking at number 5. Number 5. Did you get number 5 right? I think this might be one of the most, one of the more difficult, if not the most difficult out of all these style of problems. Okay? and they ask for x and y. Well, they go y and x, but it doesn't matter if that's y or that's x. No, because they're both the same anyway, right? So it doesn't make any difference. Okay, so let's use this formula again. But this time, we're not trying to find the hypotenuse. They actually give us the hypotenuse, don't they? So what am I going to do? I'm going to put it right here where the hypotenuse is. So put in a 6 equals what? Square root of 2 times one of the legs. Which leg do you want to use? X, okay? We'll use x. Doesn't make any difference because they're both the same anyway, aren't they? All right? We've done this, I think the last 2 days we've done a problem like this, or at least a couple problems the last 2 days like this. So what do I have to do? I got to get x by itself. It means I got to get rid of that square root of 2. So I divide it, right, by the square root of 2. Then I come over here, and what do? Divide that by the square root of 2. Because I want to get x by itself. These square root of 2's cancel each other out, but I'm left with a weird looking answer. Can I leave the answer like that? No. Remember what we said? You can't have a what? A square root where? In the denominator. That's right, in the bottom. You can't have a square root there. So we learned a little trick. I think I've always been using red for this, haven't I? What's the little trick? Multiply by square root of 2 on the bottom and the square root of 2 on the top. Okay? Why'd we do that? Because when I multiply these two together, that gets rid of your square root. That's the whole idea, right? Is to try to get rid of the square root on the bottom. So square root of 2 times square root of 2, we said it just a few minutes ago. What is that? It's just 2. And then how do I write this? I always write the whole number first. You got it. It's 6 times the square root of 2. It's not it's just 6 times, or you could just say 6 square root of 2. Some teachers say 6 root 2. They don't even say the square in there. I like to say the square because there's other roots that are cube roots, fourth roots, fifth roots. So instead of just saying 6 root 2, I say 6 square root of 2. All right. Are we done? Do we circle that? Not quite. We got one little thing to do. What do we have to do here? You got it. Divide the 6 into 2. So the 2 goes into 2 once. It goes into 6 how many times? 3. So what's my answer then? 3 square root of 2. Okay. We've done that a lot, haven't we? That kind of problem right there. Yeah, we've done it a lot. You could go back to 2 or 3 videos and see this. So x is 3 square root of 2. What's y going to be? That's also 3 square root of 2 because these two sides are equal. All right. One more right, or 45, then we'll go to a 30, 60, 90, okay? So let's do number 6. The triangle looks a little different, but that doesn't really change our math at all, does it? So that doesn't look exactly like a right triangle, but when I put that little box there, it'll be a right triangle, won't it? All right, pretend that's a right angle right there, okay? And they tell you that this is 45 degrees right there. That means that this is also 45 degrees. And they tell you this, which is 2 square root of 6, and they tell you this is x and y. Again, if it's a 45, 45, 90, x and y are the same thing, aren't they? So if I find one, the other one's exactly the same thing. So really, I only got to find one of them. Let's write that little formula down again. Hypotenuse is equal to the square root of 2 times one of the legs. Doesn't matter which leg because they're both the same on a 45, 45, okay? So what are we going to plug in? This is kind of like what we just did, except this time it's not a whole number. It's got a square root with it. All right, so we put it right here. It's what? 2 square root of 6. Everybody with me? Equals the square root of 2. Whoops. Square root of 2, right, times one of the legs. Doesn't matter, x or y, we'll use x. Do the same step, all right? This is no different, at least this part anyway, is no different than what we did before. Over what? Square root of 2. That cancels. Now, this is a little different. I don't think we've done this before. And I don't believe I put this on the quiz, all right? So, yeah, I don't put one exactly like this on the quiz, but it's good for us to know how to do. Were you at the PSAT thing? Okay. Look at this. Does that 2 and that 2 cancel? No, because that's a square root of 2. So you can't do that. But I can do this. Say it again. Yeah, divide the square roots. Exactly right. Okay, so we're going to do this. Now, do you remember, I will go off to the side here. Do you remember if you had like square root of 5 times the square root of 3? What's that equal to? The square root of what? 15. Yeah, 5 times 3. Exactly, which is 15. Agreed? Well, there's another rule that says you can do this. Watch. What if I had the square root of 12 over the square root of 3? What do you think I can do here? I can make one big square root and just divide them, right? 12 divided by 3. What's 12 divided by 3? It's 4. And what's the square root of 4? It's just 2. Okay? So what do you think we're going to do here? Keep that 2. See that 2 right there? That's a whole number. Keep it. Don't lose it. All right? But what do we have now? We have the square root of 6 divided by 2. What's the square root? I could put a 6 over 2, but what is that? It's 3. And there you go. There's your answer. So x equals 2 times the square root of 3. Right there. 2 square root of 3 here. Of course, y is going to be the same exact thing. So I just write it down. 2 square root of 3. So that's something that we haven't talked about before, but that's not too hard to figure out, is it? If I'm dividing square roots like that, I can make one big square root, right? I can make one big square root, and I could put 12 over 3 in it. Or in this case, make one big square root and put 6 over 2 in there. Right? That's a rule from algebra that apparently you didn't learn in algebra, but I'm teaching it to you now. All right? We good? Sounds like you probably learned more algebra in this class than you learned in your algebra class. Does it seem like it? Yeah. Seems like it to me. All right. All right, let's do a 30, 60, 90. So give me one that's got a 30, 60, 90 in there. That might be a little bit tough. 7. All right. Let's do that. These are 45, 45, 90s. Yep, because, well, you see why, right? 45, 45, 90. All right, again, this is our little formula for a 45, 45, 90. You got to memorize that. All right, now let's do a couple 30, 60, 90s. 30, 60, 90. Before I even write down the problem, let's write down our two formulas. Do you remember the two formulas? They both relate to the short side. So the first one we do is the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is how much of the short side? 2 times. Not half, it's 2 times. Okay, the hypotenuse is the biggest. All right, so it can't be half another side. It's 2 times the other side, okay, which is the short side. The second one that we learned on a 30, 60, 90 was the long side. It's a weird number, but if you remember it, it's not that, if you study it, it's not that hard to remember. It's what? It's not 2 times the short side, it's what? Square root of 3 times the short side, or the short leg. Okay? I'll put it in a box, and you got to remember it. That's what you got to remember. Hypotenuse is twice the short side. The long side is the square root of 3 times the short side. All right? Let's write it down. You said number 7? All right, looks kind of like this. That's your right angle right there. They tell you this is 60 degrees. If this is 60 degrees, what's this little angle over here have to be? It's got to be 30 degrees. Okay? And they give you X and Y, and they give you 16. Okay, this is a good question to ask because, again, this is probably one of the harder problems out of these style of problems. This is probably one of the harder ones that you have to do. Okay, when they give you the hypotenuse, especially when they give it to you as a whole number, all right, this is a little bit more difficult. Now, there's one side that's super easy to do, all right, and that would be the short one. Remember, both of these, see how the short is in both of these formulas? All right, the short side is important then, isn't it? Because it's in both formulas. So let's find the short side. Well, I know the hypotenuse is what? 16. So 2 times what? The short. Which one's the short here? This one is y. This time the x and y are not the same, are they? Okay, they are different. One's short, one's longer. So there we go. Divide both sides by 2. Divide by 2. Y is 8. So that's 8. Actually, this one is not one of the harder ones. One of the harder ones, I should have thought about this. One of the harder ones is when they give you the longer leg as a whole number. That's the one that's the hardest. Okay, this one's actually not that bad at all. Everybody got that? Because if I gave you the short side, what would the hypotenuse be? It would be twice the short side, wouldn't it? So if they give you the hypotenuse, how do you find the short one? You just take half of it, right? So you may not have even had to go through this stuff right here. You could have just looked at that and say, oh yeah, that's half of that. Okay? Let's do the long side now. Let's write it down. What is the long side? Which one of these? No, 16, well, I'm going to say yes to you, but no to you, okay? So 16 is not the long side, it's the hypotenuse, right? What's the long side or the long leg? I should keep saying leg instead of side. What's the long leg? It's x. This is the short leg, all right? So let's go to the second formula. The long leg is x equals the square root of 3 times the short one. Do I know the short one? Yeah, I do. I just found it, didn't I? Okay, it's 8. So it's square root of 3 times what? 8. But I don't like to write it like that. I mean, you could, but it's just not preferred, okay? Most math people wouldn't write it like that. How would you write that? This thing right here. How? It's 8 square root of 3. Right, you always put the whole number first, okay, then the square root second. That's how we normally write it. So there you go. There's your x, and there's your y, and that's it. So 8 is 8, or x, sorry, is 8 square root of 3. So that wasn't that hard, was it? Find one where the long side is a whole number. Number 10? Nah. We could do number 10. Well, actually, not. Number 10 is super easy. Well, actually, we could do number 10. Where's the long leg? A whole number. 14? 13, 14. Yeah, let's do 14. Then we'll go back to 10, all right? So let's do 14. Looks like this. And this. So this is, what did I say, 14? I'll write it down. So this is 14. Hypotenuse is x. This side is y. And the other side is 12. And they tell you that this is 30 degrees. So if this is 30 degrees, what's this angle up here going to be? 60 degrees. Good. So there's your 30, 60, 90 triangle. Everybody got me so far? All right. So what do they give you? They give you the long leg, don't they? Well, what was our little formula with the long leg? The long leg is the square root of 3 times the what? Times the short leg, okay? So you got to have those memorized. You got to have them memorized. Can't say it enough. Have I said it a couple times before? Yes. All right, what is the long leg then? It's 12 equals the square root of 3 times the short leg. Which one's the short leg here? Is it? Why is it y? It's opposite to 30 degrees. Very good. All right, so that's a y. Everybody with me? We've done this math a couple times already. Well, once, at least once today. All right, we've done it several times in the last few days. We've done it once today. So what do we do to get y by itself? Divide by the square root of 3. Come over here and divide by the square root of 3. But can we leave it like that? No, that's not simplified. So I got to take that 12 over square root of 3 and multiply it by something to get rid of that square root. Remember this? I'm not doing it in red this time. So we're going to, right, multiply it by the square root of 3 on the bottom and the top. Why do we do it times the top and the bottom like that? Because really we're multiplying by a 1, right? And multiplying by 1 doesn't change anything. So there we go. Square root of 3 times square root of 3. Everybody, what's that? 3. It's super easy. And then how am I going to rewrite this? I'm going to write the 12 first, okay, times the square root of 3. We're almost done this. Got one little thing to do. That's right. So 3 does go into 12, doesn't it? Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes, like if this was an 11, right, 3 wouldn't go into 11, would it? Okay, so just make sure it does evenly divide into it. So 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 12, how many? 4 times. So what is y equal to? 4. Good. 4 times the square root of 3. So that's what that is. 4 square root of 3. Again, that's the important one to find. The short one is super important because now I can find the hypotenuse. Now the hypotenuse is a lot easier. Remember what the hypotenuse is? It's 2 times the short side, or twice the short side. Well, I just found the short side, didn't I? So how do I find the hypotenuse? I multiply it by 2. So I go 2 times 4 square root of 3. The multiplication's easy. Just multiply the whole numbers. 2 times 4 is what? 8. And then you put the square root of 3 there. That's what the hypotenuse is. It's 8 times the square root of 3. See that? It's double the short side. Make sense? All right, so that was a good one to do. That was probably the hardest. This stuff right here is probably the hardest thing to do out of all the problems that we do. But we've done it so many times, it shouldn't even be that hard now, should it? It should be relatively straightforward because we've done it so many times. At least I have. I hope you've been watching them. I hope you've been writing it down every single time that I do, because if you don't, you're just not going to get it. And I want you to get it. I want you to get these right. All right, which one did we say we're going to do? 10? All right, let's do that, and then I'm going to review for the quiz because I'm running out of time. Seems like I always say that too. I repeat myself a lot, don't I? Let's see. We'll put that about right there. And put this about right there. It's not perfect. It's close enough. There's your right angle. This is x. This is y. This is 8 square root of 5. To tell you the truth, this worksheet's probably a little more difficult than what you're going to see on the quiz. All right, so if you can do this worksheet, the quiz should be pretty easy for you. All right, they tell you this. This is all the stuff they give you on the worksheet. This is number 10. All right, so if that's 60 degrees, that's 30 degrees. And, 30 degrees. All right, we got to solve for x and y. So the most important one, what did I say the most important side is on a 30, 60, 90? The short one, okay? So let's find the short one first. Is that all right? So let's find the short. I'm going to write it down again. So what is this? This is the hypotenuse, isn't it? So the hypotenuse is equal to what? Twice the short leg. You could probably do this in your head, couldn't you? So what am I going to do with that hypotenuse? If this is twice as big as this, how do I find this one? Divided by 2. That's right. So what is that divided by 2? It's 4 times the square root of 5. Very good. It's 4 times the square root of 5. Oops. This pen just has a mind of its own. All right? Everybody see that? If you wanted, you could come over here and do this. At this point, though, this is almost a waste of time. Almost, okay? Hate to say it's a waste of time, but 2 times the short. What was the short? It was y. Divide both sides by 2. Divide that by 2. Do you see why you divide by 2 now? That 2 goes into this 4 times 4 square root of 5, just like we said. All right? Once we know the short side, then the longer side, how do I know x is the longer side or the longer leg? It's opposite to 60, right? So this is the longer leg. So what do I do for that? Let's write it down again. What's the long leg equal to? It's the square root of 3 times the short leg. All right? So I know the short leg. What is it? 4 square root of 5 times what? Yeah, I got to multiply by the square root of 3. So really, what am I multiplying here? Just the square roots, right? So what's the square root of 3 times the square root of 5? Square root of 15. That's right. Times what? Times a 4. We'll write it a little nicer. You could have put it in the front to begin with, but we'll write it a little nicer. 4 square root of 15. And that is x. Okay? That's your longer leg. 4 square root of 15. We okay with this? Yeah. Okay, that's all I'm going to do. Let's go to the quiz. I'm going to quickly, I got 10 minutes. I'm going to quickly go through 10 questions. Actually, I'm going to go through 9 questions, but I'll tell you what. I'm not going to do an example for every single question on the quiz. I'm just going to kind of tell you what's going to be on there and give you some hints. So, numbers 1, 2, and 3 are all Pythagorean theorem. So, numbers 1 to 3 are all Pythagorean theorem. Pythagorean theorem. You guys remember what Pythagorean theorem is? This is one of those things that I bet you're going to remember pretty much the rest of your life. I was in the teacher's room the other day, and Mr. K, you know Mr. K? He came up to me, he looked over, he says, what are you doing? I said, Pythagorean theorem. I said, do you remember the Pythagorean theorem? He didn't get it quite exactly right, because he hasn't done math in a bunch of years, but he was pretty close. He says, isn't that the ABC one or something, A squared and B squared? So he was like, the more he thought about it, it was coming back to his mind a little bit. So he's not a math guy, but he still remembers Pythagorean theorem, all right? So this is one of those lessons that people remember for years and years, all right? So what is it? Let's write it down. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Do you think that's something you're going to always have memorized? Yeah, it should be. All right? So how do we do it? Let's just do one real quick. I do have a couple on there that are Pythagorean triples. Do you remember your Pythagorean triples? Remember? 3, 4, 5. And then there was what? 5, 12, 13. Oh, I forget the other ones off the top of my head. Anybody have them written down? It doesn't matter. These are the only ones you're going to have to know for the quiz anyway. All right? So if I had, watch this. I will do one example. I said I wasn't going to do any examples, but can't help myself. All right, so what if I said that this was 3 and this was 5, and I asked you to solve for x? Could you do this without doing any math at all? Yeah, you should. You should be able to. And I'm fine with this. Usually I harp all the time about show your work, show your work. Here's a situation where you don't have to show your work. Okay? This is a 3, what? 5. 3 blank 5. What is it? What's the blank? It's 4. It's a 3, 4, 5 triangle. What if you didn't realize that? And you didn't remember the 3, 4, 5 triangle. What could you do? Well, you could do the Pythagorean theorem. So let's do it. Yep. So you go, let's get this to work, right? So we go 3 squared plus x squared equals 5 squared. Let's do the math. 3 squared is 9. I'm going to go through fairly quickly, okay, because we've done this a lot before. And then let's get rid of that 9. Subtract a 9 from both sides. Okay, that cancels. Bring down the x squared. X squared is equal to 25 minus 9 is 16. Now, what do I do to get rid of that square? I square root. Square root. Oh, yep. So x equals what? What's the square root of 16? What number times itself is equal to 16? It's 4. So there you go. Just like we said it was, because we knew that that was a 3, 4, 5 triangle. Everybody see that? You could have saved yourself all that work by just looking at it and recognizing that it was 3, 4, 5. Okay? What's another Pythagorean triple? 5, 12, 13. So this could have been 5. This could be 12, and I ask you to solve for x right there. How could you solve for that without using any math at all? You could look at it and say, oh, that side's 5, that side's 12. What's the other one have to be? 13, because of Pythagorean triple. So you could just look at it and say, oh yeah, that's 13. What if I did this? What if I said that this was 10 and this was 24? Could you figure out what x is with very minimal math? Minimal math. Well, what goes into 10 and 24? What divides 10 and 24 evenly? 12 goes into 10? 2. 2 goes into 10 how many times? 5 times. 2 goes into 12. I'm sorry, I gave you the answer. 2 goes into 24 12 times. So this is kind of like a what? A 5, 12, 13 triangle. But is this side 13 though? No, because what do we do to both of those? We multiplied by 2, multiplied by 2. So we take that 13 multiplied by 2, and what would it be? 26. See how nice and easy that is? Knowing your Pythagorean triples? All right. So I'll give you a hint. Numbers 1 and 2 are both. You can use your Pythagorean triples. If you don't remember them, you could always do this stuff right here. Okay? Everybody with me? All right. Then I give you a problem where you have to tell me, is the triangle, so 4 and 5 are like this. We'll do one example. 4 and 5, you have to tell me, is it a right triangle? Is it an acute triangle? Or, what's the other choice? Obtuse. Okay? So what kind of triangle is it? Are you just going to guess and hope you get it right because you got a 1 in 3 chance? No, you're not. You're going to actually do some numbers on it. So what if I give you something like, I'm making this up, 3, 7, and 9. Okay? What if I give you a triangle like this? Is it, and those 3 sides are 3, 7, and 9. I don't know if it's a right triangle, acute, or obtuse, but I can do some math to figure it out. Here's how I do it. I take the Pythagorean theorem and I write the C first this time. Okay? And then I compare it to a squared plus b squared. Now, if c squared is equal, c meaning the longest side, all right, so which one is the c? The 9. Okay, and the 3 and the 7 would be the a and the b. Everybody see that? So I take the c and I square it, I compare it to the other side squared and add it up. If it's equal, then what kind of a triangle is it? It's a right triangle. If the c squared was less than a squared plus b squared, then what kind of a triangle is it? It's acute, that's right. Less than 90, right, is an acute angle. So less than, that would be an acute triangle. What if c squared was greater than a squared plus b squared? Then it would be obtuse. So you have to show me, okay, which one it is. I'm going to put a question mark because I don't know right now, okay? Let's put some numbers in, though. Always start with the c squared, though. Everybody hear me on this? Don't start with the a squared plus b squared. Start with the c squared. So what is that? That's 9 squared, isn't it? Let's take the other two, square them, and add them up. So the other one is 3. We square that. And we add it to the other side, which is 7. We square that. Let's see what we get. What's 9 squared? 81. What's 3 squared? 9. Plus 7 squared is 49. What's that? 58? So I'm comparing 81 to 58. What is 81 compared to 58? It's greater than. So what kind of a triangle is this? This is an obtuse triangle. If all you write is just obtuse and you don't show me how you got it, I'm going to mark it wrong. Did you guys hear what I just said? Okay, if all you do is just write obtuse, even though that's the correct answer, if you don't show me why it's obtuse, this is showing why. All this stuff right here, okay, that's showing me why, then you're going to get it wrong unless you show me. Okay, show me, write obtuse, you're good to go. All right. So I'm not really going to do any examples for the rest of it. So 6 through 9 is what we just finished doing. So 6 through 9 all has to do with, what do you think? 45, 45, 90. Whoops. And then 30, 60, 90. Okay? We just finished doing a whole bunch of those. I don't have to do any more examples with that. All right? So I give you the triangle. I give you the picture of the triangle. I tell you what side is what. And then you just have to solve. On both, every one of these, 6, 7, 8, and 9, there's 2 answers for both of them. Because I give you one side, you got to tell me what the other 2 sides are, okay? And you have to get the other 2 sides right. You can't just get one right. All right, you got to get them both right to get full credit for that problem, okay? And number 10, it's a mystery question. That's all I'll say. Okay? Huh? It's a mystery, yes. It's really not. You don't have to know any math to be able to do that. It's almost a gimme question, but it is a question. You'll see tomorrow. All right? Everybody with me on that? All right, there's the whole quiz right there. Okay. Yeah, let's turn it in. You probably won't use it to study from anyway, will you? Unless somebody's very... Are you going to use it to study from? Did you do it, though? Oh, you just got it today. Yeah, if you just got it today, for you guys that were on that trip, then yeah, it's due tomorrow, because I wouldn't expect you to have it done right now. What's that? Did you get one? All right, come up and get one. There's right here. Anybody else on that trip, you came in late, you didn't get one? Pass that out to whoever didn't get one. Okay. All right, and football guys, if you have your A and B, was it 7? Is it 7? 7-4A, 7-4B? Yeah, turn that in. All right, quiz tomorrow, so be ready for it, okay?